Good morning, everyone. You're listening to Turtle Island News with Tracey Kennedy, live on turtleislandnews.info. I realize, looking over the news and the events that are pre-programmed to be happening this year in the Anno Lucius, that most people have aha moments. I have, oh, for puck's sake, seriously moments. And I have them at least 5 times an hour now. We are in an age, pre-predicted, pre-told, pre-seen. Even the futurists, who I would say are our modern day philosophers and seers and truth tellers at some point, that the events now, the events that were written in the Bible 500 years ago, were said and set up for this event. We can see it as a transformation, or we could see it as the oncoming death and transgender, Luciferian, IT, diamonds in the sky scenario. I want to play you a little something. I, of course, will be interrupting a lot to go over the agenda, to bring in the things I've been telling you about, even the approach of what? The Phantom Menace. What we are seeing now is the same as the days of Noah, the same as the fall of Atlantis, the same as Lemuria. We are on a wheel. This is time. Time controls us. We are circling, we are repeating. All of the future potentialities. Pre-programmed to come to a climax this September. The conditions on planet Earth for his return, or her return, or Lucy's return. I want to play you a couple things, so I will try not to talk too much, and we'll get through as much as we can, because I need to introduce you to some things that we've spoken of before. Important this time.
Sky. There were some who were watching the star, and a few who even followed it to the place where it led. Underneath it, a child was born. His name was Jesus, Yeshua, HaMashiach, Emmanuel, the great I Am, Yahweh in the flesh. The star that led these few to the place of the child was very different, unusual. It had more than 4.
The falling star. And yes, I believe this event happened. I believe it's happening now. We are in these times. So they followed a star. This is very, very intricate, the meaning to this story. And of course, they talked about the sun who is reacting now because of something that is hitting the sun. What happens when we get a CME? When we get a CME, no matter how mild they are, and it's obviously not just this little series of CMEs affecting us, what happens is we get our double barrier that stops some cosmic ray things coming in. But the reason why our storms are so magnetic, so powerful right now, is because of the energetic potential of all of these things.
Points to it, and it stretched out in all 8 directions. In
Again, stretched out in all 8 directions. This is the 8 ancestors I've told you about. These are the return of the beings. Nephilim, if you like, energetic potential of our ancestors when we became physical. This is Cern. This is the Dogon prophecy.
Revelation 9:1, another star is shown. This one has the key to open the bottomless pit, the abyss. It's given the key to the abyss. It is provided a key to the abyss. It was on that day, the 13th of May, 1917, that Lucia Santos and her cousins would be confronted by an apparition. It appeared peaceful, even beautiful.
Lucius. Do you think that her name was an accident? Really? As a matter of fact, she was the only seer who survived this apparition with the goddess of light, or the god of the song, or the lord of the dance, or Lucy in the sky with diamonds. It is not a mystery to me, anyway, that the thing that they told us we're related to was named Lucy. Lucy, who has been proven over and over again to be a composite of many different species, because they made it to show you. It was a play on words and a play on ideas, and something actually pretty darn cool.
Something from heaven, or so she thought. The shining, luminous lady told many things to Lucia Santos. Among them was a prophecy that the other witnesses of the apparition.
Now, both Francisco, interesting, Franciscans were the names of the Jesuits who rewrote your entire Bible, what we read today. But Francisco and Janica, cousins of Lucia, died very young of influenza. Lucia, born 3/22/1907, lived to be 97 years old.
Francisco and Jacinta would die very soon. They are the only others on earth with a first-hand account of the shining, luminous woman of heaven. But they died, and only Lucia
was told by the apparitions that her two cousins would die very young.
Santos was left with all of the secrets. Among these secrets were 3, 2 of which have been revealed, and a third that was supposed to have been revealed on several occasions, all of which did not result in the full revelation being disclosed. But there was now only one witness, Lucia Santos. On September 13th, 1917, the luminous lady appeared to Lucia Santos and told her the place to come on October 13th, 1917.
Now again, when we see pictures of the Virgin Mary, there is light coming from her hands. This is frequency, yes?
At the beginning of a Jubilee year. There at Fatima would be revealed the greatest known miracle in the history of the Roman Catholic Church. Lives would be changed that day. Both a physical and spiritual transformation would result.
Even Katy Perry, who has been rocking all of the Luciferian ideas, falls to earth in a transgendered kind of being. Again, the jewel falling from Satan's crown.
So I made a magnetic scale model of the Cern dome, placed a set of them in my vacuum chamber, and fired it up. Not only did these Cern bowls form,
Cern still needs the key. Without it, the abyss cannot be opened, not without the key, and the key is provided to the star who falls from heaven.
A spherical shape at the center of the reaction, but they also formed a disk of plasma around the nucleus, as well as ejection jets along the axis.
The key must be provided to unlock the abyss, to bring on Apollyon, to resurrect Osiris if you want, to bring him back from the abyss to the surface. Now the surface can be simple. The abyss could be the water, could be the oceans, could be other dimensions. Here, now. Always here, always now. Past, present, and future colliding to make this moment.
Lives would be changed that day. Both a physical and spiritual transformation would result. At the beginning of the Jubilee year, 70,000 people of all walks of life, all different religions, of different trades and ages, would witness the miracle of the sun. Something came out of the sun. Something unusual, erratic, colorful.
Now again, the 68th Jubilee year began September 25th, 1917, the return of the sun. We are in one of these years now.
And even magnetic. Something that would change them all, both physically and spiritually.
Now it's funny. In Katy Perry's representing Lucifer himself, herself, she meets a being who is a black man, but he's albino. Hold that in mind, especially when we've talked about genetics of this planet. Know that also it's Lucy herself, Lucy in that movie, which you should watch again, that goes back, touch the monkey, touches Lucy, which we're told is the ancestor, right? Touches her and brings on the change. There was something that sparked a change. I'm absolutely for that. In us. What if we are seeing two stories colliding right now? Of course, they want us to believe it's Satan, it's Lucifer, it's about taking us over, it's about something we should fear. What if it's about us really doing the transformation which we have been told is coming? Lucia.
The apparitions continued for months, finally culminating in the local priest instructing the children to ask the apparition for a sign. They did as they were asked, and the apparition told them that the following month, which was October, there would be a sign for all to see. The next month, upwards of 70,000 people gathered in Fatima, Portugal. It had been raining all day, and there was a thick layer of clouds overshadowing the crowd. A cross-section of humanity gathered that day: bankers, peasants, clergy, bakers, young, old, reporters, believers, and skeptics alike all waited for the sign that the apparition had promised would appear. The appointed time for the sign to manifest, which was noon, came and went, and nothing happened. The crowd grew restless. An hour passed, and one of the seers called out, "It's the lady!" The crowd could not see her, but the children apparently did, and everyone waited to see what would happen next. The dark sky suddenly parted to reveal what many onlookers described as the sun. It spun around, throwing off an array of colors, and then, to everyone's terror, began to fall in a pendulum-like motion to earth. What followed was mass hysteria, as people thought the end of the world was upon them. Some dropped to their knees, while others ran about screaming hysterically. The sun then began to ascend to its rightful place in the heavens, and when it had departed, the crowd realized that their clothes, which had been soaked by the constant rain, were dry.
Katy Perry, playing the feminized version of Lucifer, falls to earth, into the valley of the earth. This is the abyss.
Most everyone in the crowd that day had his or her worldview altered for all time. Here are some eyewitness testimonies of the events that happened at Fatima. Moments before, the sun had broken overhead, a dense layer of clouds that would have otherwise hidden it, allowing it to shine clearly and intensely. I turned toward that magnet that attracted every gaze, and I could see that it was similar to a disc with a distinct and lively border, luminous and lucent.
Okay, I heard that. It's hard for you to hear me when the music's playing. But anyway, the witnesses of Fatima saw a door opening. They saw the sun returning to the earth, this beginning of the Jubilee. Many people claim to be healed by that fiery disc. A fiery disc that is in images all over the world. We say that's the return of God. This is Anunnaki. This is Sumeria. This is the winged God. This is the Phantom Menace. All the same things coming up at the same time.
But harmless. The sun uncovered itself and had a diverse gradation, appearing sometimes like a solar globe, enclosed by an aureole of flames, other times a metallic disk, as if of silver. In a radiant sky, the sun could be looked at straight on and with eyes wide open, without blinking, as if we were looking at a disk of polished glass illuminated from behind, with a rainbow of iridescence on its periphery, seeming to have a rotating movement, and the sun did not have the brilliance that hurt our eyes on normal days, as it was a majestic disk, magnetic, which attracted and sort of revolved in the immense sky.
So the miracle was a door that opened temporarily, and the lady was given the authority to open this door.
Suddenly, a luminous disk, the size of a great host, but one which could be gazed upon as one gazes upon the moon, as if it stood out from the sun, descending visibly.
And that thing, which people are still calling the Virgin Mary, that thing transformed every single spectator there. Now, the movie Lucy shows the ascendance of a woman rising to the status of I am, if you like, unlocking her full brain capacity. Now, many of the things shown in this movie are not true. They're not. We do not use 10% of our brains, but we have a tendency as we get older to use specific parts of our brain at one time. Normally, when we're doing a task, we are using 10% at a time. That does not mean that's the only thing we're doing here. Now, we are told that this is the original temptation. For God doth know that the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be gods, knowing good and evil. So is this true? Is knowledge a sin? This book, all of the religions of Brahma, Abraham, talk about this God thing, who is so devastatingly ugly, by the way, that you had to be veiled to see him. And if you looked right on him, you would die. And the scene from Lucy shows Lucy transforming a primitive. The primitive root. The one. Were we monkeys? I don't think so. Do they want us to believe that? Absolutely. But what if it's something else, encoded in all this information, that we are the ones who can transform ourselves, that we are the ones who went back, and there is a vast war. We are told, for the one who will claim the image of the humanity. Yah supposedly already defeated Lucifer. Yah gave his own son's DNA, his image. It isn't just a spiritual salvation, it was a bodily one as well. But as we know, even by what their story said that they did, his son had nothing to do with us. Nothing. Wasn't here. Certainly wasn't there then. So the sun coming down and raining what on us, do you think? It is not an accident. We are at an energetic potential right now. The geomagnetic storms that have been going on since May 19th had nothing to do with what the sun was sending us. These things can't be stopped, even though they sent out their army of 48, of course 12, and still just showing the 12 apostle thing that they keep wanting to tell us about, and the zodiac sign. So it's all about houses and principles and principalities and who owns you. Yes, they are absolutely trying to stop this. They can't. And should they?
I saw the sun, seeming a dull silver disk, but more luminous than the moon. The sun gave the appearance of a globe of dull silver or fire, surrounded by a very dark purplish disk. I saw a very clear silvery blue disk without rays.
Now, the miracle of the sun was an event where the shining lady, was temporarily allowed to open a door in the air. Again, happening at the beginning of the 68th Jubilee year. We are in another Jubilee year. And it was only a preview of what is coming, beginning September 23rd, this year, the 70th Jubilee, a year of glorification for the bridge, a reunification of the bridge. And our bridge, which is the dividing section in our brains, is almost impossible, the upper one anyway, almost impossible for us to connect to. This is a time of great sorrow for the earth, apparently. A time when Lucy, the star, is given the key to the abyss. We are told this is the most frightening thing ever. I don't think so. I don't think so at all.
The researchers here are looking for what they call dark matter, thought of as a cosmic tree from which our galaxies, shown in pink, grew like blossoms. So how long before they discover the first hard evidence for it?
It could be as early as this year. Summer may be a bit hard, but late summer maybe could be as early as September, as early as September, as early as September.
Scientists hope they'll soon find evidence of mind-bending new theories of extra dimensions. Scientists hope they'll soon find evidence of mind-bending new theories of extra dimensions.
Now, the morons are no longer only smashing protons together. They're moving up to smashing particulates of iron. Iron is very interesting in itself. But if they have caused so many changes with just particles, and now use iron again, looking back at the black and the consciousness of minerals and elements and things that some of us are actually allergic to. I can't take iron supplements. I'm one of those people. So know that this absolutely is a big deal. And for those of you who have been told that Cern is no longer working, that is brought to you by the letters B and S and the number 33. Cern 100% is operational, and unless we hear stories of it blowing up and all the 100 and I think 23, not 100% sure, locations where these things are going on, and the energies that they are sapping from your cell phones and the cell towers and absolutely every nuclear facility on this planet, are going to run this thing for 3 years. Unless, of course, they create the end of the world on this date, September 23rd.
Looking for what they call dark matter, thought of as a cosmic tree,
So I made a magnetic scale model of the Cern.
The researchers here are looking for what they call dark matter, invisible so-called supersymmetric particles, and ones from what researchers call the dark universe.
Preparations have been made to assist in the delusion. On September 22nd, 2012, a very high-profile disclosure advocacy panel met in Las Vegas. This was filled with top intelligence officers from the US and the UK governments, individuals who have served in intelligence positions for lengthy periods of time. They spoke about unrevealed secrets at Area 51, among other things, imminent disclosure. On September 28, 2013, Cern hosted its most public event ever, in which they presented classes for the public to talk at length about Cern's relationship to things like anthropology, environmental science, and medical science, but they talked very little about particle physics and Cern's ultimate goal, which I found peculiar. On September 18, 2014, the SETI Institute, NASA, and the Vatican Observatory hosted a conference called Preparing for Discovery, and this brought together Roman Catholic officials and scientists to talk about the ramifications of an alien disclosure. They are preparing, and the question is, are you preparing?
Earlier September.
Now again, we've talked to you before about all of the links and how so many things are preparing us for this September. And they want us to be afraid. They want us to be very afraid. Although NASA has come up with a recent report saying, don't worry, there will not be the end of the world this September. I don't think there will. This world will not end. She has gone through things that are far more dangerous than us. Although I have to admit that our smartest guys are pretty stupid, or they would not be building a research center full of deadly diseases smack dab in the middle of the tornado capital of the world. Now we realize there are ridiculously stupid things going on by the same ridiculously stupid people that have 100% taken over this world. Maybe 500 years ago. Some would say longer. I don't think it's that long. I really don't. What we are seeing, once again, is the end of a cycle, not the end of days. It's never ended here. It can't end here. We are on the wheel, turning around sometimes like hamsters. And I know, of course, people have been following me for a while. I've heard my theories of change, and very intricately woven, interesting densities and things that are on. But the rabbit hole, and all of them, are always very deep. Always, right? Circles and cycles and wheels that we have always been on, but we have been told we have no control over these things. Cern with its repeating 666, and you can see the image on my page. This collider, the largest, most expensive thing we've ever done. Ridiculous, really. The U.S. and the Manhattan Project that I have told you, which resulted in the A-bomb, which was more about the AI than making a bomb. But then we had the SALT Treaty, strategic limitations, arms limitation, military-industrial complex needed a way to simulate realities, not just nuclear explosions. This is why this was done. They were testing out the theories that they've admitted they got from ancient text. There's nothing new being done here. This is again a replay of things that have happened before. And it is a ring. The largest and main ring. About 16, 17 miles in diameter. That area that is the coldest at the Large Hadron Collider is within the central ring itself. It's what they've had a problem cooling, but they've got a handle of that. It's a hollow. It's a tube, referred to as the pipe. It's the place where that thing has already manifested, that unidentified luminous object that is not just phasing with color. It is phasing in and out of reality. It is still, it is quiet. It is an area surrounded by superconducting magnets. And magnets, for them to be superconducting, they need to be cold. They use helium at temperatures colder than outer space, near the absolute zero, right? Now officially CERN is trying to recreate the Big Bang, to search for God, the Higgs boson. We've talked about tantric. It's not just sex. It's about filtering our energies, driving our energies up, pushing them back down, pushing them back up. The exchange between two people is only the precursors. This is not the end of it. The technology they're using is what we could do in our body. And all of the things we're being told, all of the things we're being shown, even the wars on this planet, even the incredible militarization of the police, even the worldwide now, and you can check it out, the worldwide drills are looking like this world will end, or there will be a large event, or that the return of the crown of Satan, the jewel of Satan, the Phantom Menace, will be this September. Only your fear can feed this fallacy. You know, as soon as Alex Jones comes out and says something, you might as well throw that thing in the garbage. Every single time. And yes, I've read the articles, I've seen the images, I realize cops are nuts, they're all on steroids. I realize that we've had a lot of false flags. I realize that a lot of the racism is being amplified, but the racism is real. We just have to admit that. It is. It's absolutely what they've planned for these countries on the earth. So you will hate your brother. Even though genetically, you are not that much different than anything on this planet. Not a rock, not a bug, not a slug. The planet herself is allowing females to reproduce again on their own. Now, I am not talking about the stoner and the mushroom thing who called himself a feminist. You know the guy I'm talking about. who talked to the mushrooms, said the only reason we have violence on this planet is because there are men, and in order for this place to become calm, there means to be just women. That is a lie. You guys have talked to me. Am I the calmest girl you've ever met? Calmest being? I am not. I am not. Mess with my son. You want to see a different side of Tracey? Oh my God. What they're doing to us is lying. Yes, there's absolutely a white versus black, a male versus female. All of this has always been here for a reason. None of these countries are changing. Canada passing the C-51, this does not make it new. United States backing Obamacare does not make it new. These places were made to be hell on earth, not Atlantis, not beauty, not the magnificent, interconnected beings that we are. They want to bring on death, and they're doing a very good job because people seem to pick a side, you know. They want to be white or black, they want to be left or right, they want to be male or female, and I am not saying we become transgendered. I'm saying we already are. It's just the way they put things forward is wrong. They look at filth. They teach us filth. They show us filth. The kids learn filth in school. They hear about wars in history. They hear about this guy killing that guy, these people killing these people in the Cern. 99.999, the speed of light. Supposedly, we can't move any faster, which is ridiculous. How fast is thought? Seriously. How fast is thought? How fast is a thought and an action? They can't clock that. They don't know. These particles traveling at different directions, smashing together, reproducing creation, which, by the way, we do anyway. I don't know if I should call Cern, sit those people down and say, honey, I'm going to tell you about, have you tried sex? Seriously, have you tried sex? All of these little things that you want to reproduce, everything's so physical, so obvious. It's like the ancients, I'm sure, did not realize we would be so dense when they were telling us the secrets of the universe that are encoded for all cultures all over the world in everything that we could even scribble on. Even the design of trees. If you sit with trees, you realize some of them are not from here. We have supposedly the representatives of our brains on this earth doing such stupid things. Our currents, the Earth's currents, generated because of our geomagnetic field, our magnetosphere, conducted back to the surface of the Earth and the middle, then back up to the mantle, and they introduce waves. Gravimetric waves. These waves help sustain our life. It's this wave that causes a baby to breathe, to live, causes movement. Movement causes a multitude of other things, but it travels around the crust, throughout the mantle of the earth. These waves you can hear, which is why I've told you that I heard sounds when I saw the aurora. It is why people are hearing sounds in the atmosphere as the currents are being conducted faster and faster and coming back different to Earth. We are sensitive. It's why only Well, they say less than 10% of us, they like to use that number, 1 and a 0, which is a code again. It's a program, right? That's why only 10% of the world can hear the sounds. So they say, the earth, your body, has naturally occurring currents. This is called infrasound, low frequency acoustics, emanations, the ether. Who are people who were apparently stupid in Neanderthal and didn't have the wheel but knew about, taught us about. Usually beyond the threshold of our hearing. Animals hear them. Animals not only hear them, they see them, the infrasonic modulations. Like radio transmissions occur naturally through the currents and now are being added to from Cern, which is strategically located all over the world. And if you look at any of the old Khmer text, at the cave drawings all over the world, the paintings, the carvings of all ancient times, you see figures of gods, deities holding tuning forks of some kind, the Djad. The holders of these forks were the Djad warriors, the Jedi knights, which is why the Phantom Madness means something to me. These tuning forks and sounds, and the sound being generated, and then what we hear on the planet have a relationship to your body, part of the agenda, and what we're supposed to be so afraid of. And through their admissions, they're seeking interdimensional portals, gateways. They're just looking for the key. We have always used sound as one of the tools in addition to electricity, to magnetic fields, using sound and vibration to augment their high-tech, ridiculous boy toys, to open portals, as done in the ancient times, stated by, I don't know, everybody. The reason I played you a couple of weeks ago, I think, what they have shown to bring Alzheimer's people back to life. Simple, really, playing music. I mean, people sitting there not moving, but drooling out of the side of their face with no expression left. These are the zombies. This is the night of the living dead, which we exile our elders to now. Playing music from a happy time. Before the end of the song, they're singing. Sometimes by the end of the song, they're dancing. This is a secret, and it is easy, and it is free, and you could change yourself doing this. Instead, they want volcanoes. They want earthquakes. They want gods and angels and death and destruction and cops in little outfits. Who no longer can get hard anymore, by the way. They're doing too many steroids. They have balls this big. Yes, I just said that. Or we could do this really cool thing called sex. Or enjoy ourselves, sing to each other, have fun, but no, instead, filth and fear and filth in our earth, in our bodies, our beings are energetic, magnetic. Super magnets. We have enough power in one of our atoms to create a bomb. We have billions, trillions of atoms in our body. We, maybe, even with the energetic changes going on this planet, that are not being caused by the things that are being done here. They're being sent these things. We could open the door. So, Get up and stretch your legs, boys and girls, and we are going to be joined by Barbara Freecrow, second hour. Listening to Turtle Island News with Tracey Kennedy. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Turtle Island News with Tracey Kennedy, live on Wolf Spirit Radio, turtleislandnews.info, and the Awake Radio Group, and of course, Revolution Radio Studio A, and People by the People, Scottish Sovereigns on the Land. Hey, people. Now, we are talking about the corruption, supposedly, where some sort of male entities came down here and made children. We are talking about the first FEMA camp, the Garden of Eden, where the Adamus was ripped into parts, making male and female. We are talking about what happened. What happened is what's happening. And all of the even Tolkien-esque sort of different manifestations of beings, which we found we contain in our genome. We are everything that's been, everything that could be. And we have to choose right now between being or having. And the Phantom Menace. Barb found this piece that I was looking for that I couldn't find, and she took this time to actually even type it out. You rock, Barb, and
Thank
welcome.
You. Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be here. Tracey, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in. And what do you think so far?
Well, I think it's quite extraordinary. I love it when all the pieces to the puzzle start coming together, and that's what I hear you're doing. That's what we're all doing, Mm-hmm. I also, this thing is quite fantastical because you started talking to me. You mentioned the Phantom Menace, and as we were having a conversation, I just Googled Phantom Menace, and I came across many sites. Of course, they all related to Star Wars. Well, I didn't want anything to do with that. What I wanted was ancient connection or ancient knowledge or wisdom. What about this Phantom Menace? And I did find one site while you and I were chatting on the Skype, and I opened it up, and it came up. This is a book online now, over 300 and some pages. The page that came up was in the middle of the book, and guess what it was about? It was about the Phantom Menace. And I got really excited, and I told you, I said I was going to send you the link, right?
Yes.
I sent you the link. You tried to find that page. It said that page is not available. I said, how can that be? I just read it. I sent it to you. So I went back, opened it again, and it said to me, yeah, the page is not available. That was a bummer. So last night I got the message, try it again. Go search again, and I found it, and the page was available. So I said, well, I'm not taking a chance to send this to Tracey. I just started handwriting the whole thing.
Which is incredible, and I'm so glad you did that.
Well,
this is fantastic, and even though, and I realize it's really funny, but Star Wars.
Yeah, I know. Well, here's the thing I want to say. So,
please.
This Phantom Menace, this particular piece is about Electra. It's a Greek tragedy. Now, we're coming to realize that the myths, it's an ancient myth, so on and so forth, that there are no such thing as myths. That these are messages to us from the ancient people. That's my understanding. So when people, the so-called authorities say, oh, that's just a myth, it is not a myth. These are factual events. And now this particular one, what I'm going to talk about here is the Phantom Menace in regards to Electra, the Dance of Death. Now this really ties in, a piece of the puzzle ties into what you were talking about and what we've been talking about, where we are right now, the prophecy and the dark and the light. And so I will read what I copied out here, and pay real close attention. You'll find pieces here that will really, really kind of, connect with what we're talking about. So Electra destroys herself during the Maenadic final dance. In Electra, the Greek tragedy, the individual is dissolved in an empirical way. Even the content of her life is burst asunder from inside like water which has turned to ice in an earthen jug. Electra is no longer Electra, precisely because she has consecrated herself to being wholly and completely Electra. The dominance over her psyche destroys Electra's life. The driving force of the dance, the dance of death, welling up out of Electra's psyche, its intensity is redoubled, and Electra plunges physically into her dance of death. The dance becomes a combination of tragic exultation and banality that expresses the condition, at once both super and subhuman, of those in a state of enthusiasmos. This is an interesting word, enthusiasmos, or Dionysic ecstasy. The dance communicates the nature of the catastrophe, a climax of uncontrolled, reckless, and unexpected intensity, reaching unbearable intensity before Electra falls. The tam-tam scraped with a triangle stick. The meaning is clear. Agamemnon's spirit rises up again, now inside his daughter Electra's psyche, and destroys her. This implies prisoners of emotion, how we are prisoners of our emotion. The dance is a cataclysmic motif, and Electra is the prophetess of doom. Now, are we feeding the phantom menace, calling it with our own recklessness and carelessness and our emotions? Because this is where we are. And this is sort of, to me, like, yes, they say it's a myth or a tragedy. Well, it certainly speaks of tragedy. And we're at that point now, the cosmic war, during the time of the great cosmic war between the dark and the light. We're returning to this, the battle of the dark and the light. As Tracey said, we're on a great wheel. During that time, one hid within the center of the earth when all others were destroyed. She took the jewel, the diamond crystal, with her and remained hidden, sheltered throughout time, until the time of prophecy would bring her forward from her hiding place to carry forth the light, when once again the cosmic battle of dark and light would return. The fifth world, age of light, would arrive. That's where we are right now. That's the prophecy. The time of humanity's spiritual awakening, the age of enlightenment, the time where we can either choose to listen to the authorities, the media, and fall into fear and terror, or take our own power back and know who we truly, truly are. So I just wanted to start out with that. Yeah, with that dance. The Phantom Menace shows up in a lot of, movies, yeah. The Matrix, Star Wars, and even as far back as the Greek tragedies, and so on.
It's wonderful. Even when we've heard the tales of the demiurge from Kemet, later called Egypt, when we've heard the African tales Alke Bulan, the original name of this place, we were told these stories. And even Electra, the words you said, even the stories contain keys, little trinkets, like little crumbs that you have to find along the tail. Electric, magnetic, opening, destroying. To live, you must destroy yourself. It's the phoenix. It's the rebirth. It's the tale of what falls must come back up and burn itself to be reborn. This can be taken as, yes, there's the fallen angels and they're coming to kill us, and the whole male essence is the deadly, scary thing. But it's also something completely magnificent.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And beautiful, why are there so many people saying they are having magnificent dreams right now? That they are hearing sounds. They are hearing, more and more people are saying that they're hearing the sounds that apparently only few of us can hear. That's BS. All it takes is for you to try to listen to it, and that's it.
We all have the capacity, definitely, to do that, for sure, And
I think so.
Yeah, and I feel like, yes, the dreams, many people are having magnificent dreams, and many people are having, phenomenal experiences, So this is all, we have the opposites here. We have the tragedies, we have the violences increasing and madness increasing. And again, this is running side by side when you have people having magnificent dreams and people awakening and people, experiencing, joy and the truth of things, And so this is the simultaneous situation I see running side by side, that we are in two prophecies. I've been saying that for so long, And but if that's happening, again, we have to understand the part we're playing in all of this. We're all connected. We're all part of this. We're not separate. So what is going on with the manipulation and the disruption of the web, what Cern is doing? And it does involve us. And when we feel an energy, when we feel down, when we feel depressed, or when we feel anxious, all of these things can very well be part of what they're messing around with. And with more awareness of how involved and connected we are, we can take steps to shift that energy. Don't you think so?
Oh, 100%. Of course, it's fear, fear, fear. The entire Bible was written for that.
I'll agree on that.
All you have to do is read it.
You just have to read it. And, there's no, yeah. I mean, that's a confusing message. God loves you. You are a child of God, but you'll be sent to hell in a minute.
Yeah. You are a child of God, but not those guys. And those guys, when you attack them, you need to even kill their cows. The women and the children and the men and the cows, and burn their fields, and because they what? Because they what? And this idea of us guys against those guys, and those guys are always different. Those guys are a new guy every week. But it's us versus them, male versus female, left versus right. And when we go into the old stories that Barbara and I talk sometimes for hours off air and think, and I'm typing furiously saying, okay, I need to talk about this, this, and this. Never mind, I'm just going to have her on. This, and this.
We do go on a bit.
We do.
We should tape those. We should tape conversations.
That. I'm just going to play this. Here you go. But what we're finding right now, what we're seeing right now, is return of every people's ancient stories.
Yeah.
And I am not afraid in this year of light. I am not afraid in this year of the crossing. I am not afraid of this year
No.
of the dark star. I am not afraid of the energies coming in and affecting us, because I know for a fact it is healing some of us. And the only reason it isn't healing all of us is because we are making a choice.
That's exactly right. You have to think about when you read the old stories, even when we hear the elders speak of the past times, and when we read about the ancient stories, we read about the battles of the cosmic battles. We read about the dark and the light. We read about the Vedas. We read, all of these are teachings, and what happened. Okay, so let's look at all the so-called myths that. Guess what? They are not myths. They are factual. These things really happened. So if you look at all these things in the past, you have to say, well, okay, we're here. Humanity is still here. We still come through. And, well, we're on the cycle. I call it the wheel of life, as you spoke about. We're on the wheel of life. If you understand, the ancient times, the ancient cultures, I feel very strongly, that there were enlightened or highly intelligent beings here on the earth, that the scientific mind can't wrap their mind around it.
Yes.
But everything points to that. The wisdom and the knowledge and the ability that they had, and they left messages for us. They left signs. They left petroglyphs. They left, everything to tell us, where they were, who they are, what happened, and that involves us. We're all a part of that.
And even secretly encoded how to get home.
The code within us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even our little DNA, which science says they get, but they don't get.
No.
They don't get how our brains work. There is no reason we feel any kind of physical pain. They don't understand. They don't even understand what sadness is. They just say, you know what we can do? We can throw a pill.
Take a blue pill.
Take a pill or your head will explode. I swear to God.
Exploding head syndrome.
Yes, and Barb and Patty taught us about these things. And right now, there's an X-class flare on the way Patty just sent to me. Now, know what this does to you. It puts up the planet's shields, protects us from the cosmic rays. But this thing bypasses the shield, bypasses everything that they have done, even the 48 legion of satellites, which are all armed. They can do nothing to stop this or the cosmic rays. They can apparently smash into each other. That's their plan.
Right.
So when they're done smashing and crashing and going, oh, look, I'm a boy. Here's this toy. And, I hate to sound down on men, but you do that.
You know what? That's the difference between the feminine and the masculine. I've seen the boys on their toys, and we use that expression because they are like boys, and they can't help themselves. They can't stop themselves. It's like a new toy. I've seen them tree trimming around here. They go around trimming the trees off the wires or away from the wires, supposedly. So during storms, winter storms and so on, that we don't have outages, which is a good thing, but they can't. But I've seen them take down trees that are not even really near wires, would never be near wires, and they just can't seem to stop themselves. It's just like this energy that starts happening when you have this machine in your hands.
It's a power tool, honey. They can.
It's a power tool. Yeah, it's something that takes over them. And I suppose, I don't know, maybe if we were in that position trimming trees, we might find that power surges us too.
Sure
I don't know.
Enjoy the power of this electric thing in my hand.
It's possible.
But I could point them to something else that they could. Anyway.
Yeah. I came across this thing while I was in the search for the Phantom Menace. I came across this. I talked about the myths and the stories and so on, that they're factual.
Yes.
They're not just stories. They're not fiction. So you all know the story of the Pied Piper of Hamelin. You ever hear
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Well, this is based on true facts. Did you know that?
I did.
Well,
Just go on.
so, huh? Yeah, it's like, so when lo, as they reached the mountainside, a wondrous portal opened wide, as if a cavern was suddenly hollowed, and the piper advanced, and the children followed. And when all were in to the very last, the door of the mountainside shut fast. Yeah. And this is interesting because during
Portal.
one of the, huh?
Portal.
Yeah,
And
mountainside.
and mountainside, so you went up the ladder.
Yeah, but during the time of now I'm not sure which First Nations people it could be the Lakota, but I'm not sure. One of the elders was talking about this was the time of one of the floods or one of the cataclysmic events that they were told to go into the mountain. They were harbored in the mountains until it was time to come out again.
And we have a lot of the stories about some of us being taken and protected and hid underground passageways, usually, and we found underground entire cities
That's
all
right.
over the world, where we obviously were down there. But what does a Pied Piper use? He uses a flute.
He uses a flute, and he dances, and he
He
sort of like
dances.
people go into a trance.
So it is sound and vibration and
Exactly.
movement.
Right. Now, this actually story or this event took place, I didn't realize it, in 1284 in the town of Hamelin, Lower Saxony in Germany. There was a rat infestation, and a piper dressed in a coat of many colored bright cloth appeared. This piper promised to get rid of the rats in return for a payment, to which the town people agreed. And although the piper got rid of the rats by leading them away with his music, the people of Hamelin reneged on their promise. Now, how did we know that was going to happen? Now, the piper was furious and, of course, vowed revenge. And on the 26th of July of that same year, the piper returned and led the children away, never to be seen again, just as he did the rats. Now, nevertheless, 1 or 3 children were left behind. This is, of course, depending on which version is being told, but one of these children was lame and could not keep up. Another was deaf and could not hear the music, while the third one was blind and could not see where he was going. Now, the earliest known record of this story is from the town of Hamelin itself. It is depicted in a stained glass window created for the church of Hamelin, which dates to around 1300 AD. Now, this was destroyed in 1660, but several written accounts have survived, and the oldest comes from a manuscript circa 1440-50, which stated, in the year of 1284, on the day of Saints John and Paul, on June 26, by a piper clothed in many kinds of colors, 130 children were seduced and lost in the place of execution near the Koppen. Okay, the supposed street where the children were last seen is today called the Street Without Drums, as no one is allowed to play music or dance there. And so this is true. The children disappeared, and nobody really knows to this day what happened to the children.
You know, when we talk about stories, I have to remind you of 2. Peter Pan and the Monster of Neverland. And Pan the god, the goat god who played a flute. who stole children, and Lion Witch in a Wardrobe.
That's
Where
right.
also again you have a pan-like figure, so goat who has the phi is the five. It looks like a pentagram, goat's feet,
Mm-hmm.
inverted, of course. But again, same monster, same god, probably same story.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not we're having these visitations over and over again, which I'm leaning towards because we're on the wheel,
Yeah.
or we know to tell these stories over and over again to give us a story of life and a story of remembrance and a story of remember and watch and wait and be careful. Cautionary tale, perhaps.
Cautionary tale, and then you look at the people, children or persons disappeared, were taken.
Yes.
You look at the circumstances that they were drawn away,
And there are people being taken now.
And there are people being taken. There have always been people being taken. I mean, even in the old country, what I call the old country in Ireland, they talk about, the children, changelings, the children being taken and people being taken and coming back what they thought was the next day, and then it's been years and years.
Yes.
So we have all these messages throughout the past coming as what the so-called fairy tales. And looking at that, what does it really say to us? What does it mean? And you talk about, okay, so this particular story has to do with a promise.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, a plague, or we'll say rats, a plague.
A sickness.
A sickness.
And somebody just died from the plague, by the way.
That's right. And then you have a promise to eliminate this or make everything better.
Always.
But there's
and a deal is struck.
There's a deal.
There's always a deal.
There's always a deal.
You make the deal, you roll your dice, you make the deal, and then someone reneges on that deal.
Always. And then the revenge.
And then we have Pandora.
The revenge of the ninjas.
Revenge of the ninjas. The revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
Who's a real people, and I am going to read that story about the Al-Jadid, which is also it's a pitchfork, but it's a dividing rod, and it's a sound.
Right.
I know the sound. I know what the sound is. I know the word, and there are always 7 magic words. There are 7 magic words to open up the AI in that movie, AI. There are 7 magic words of creation. There are always 7 magic words that bring life.
Mm-hmm.
It always comes with a frequency. So electra, electron, magneto even, which is magnetic. Electric, magnetic, and a change. And the guy said, in Hamlin, a portal opened.
Yeah.
So note, these are not new things. These are not new concepts. They are concepts that all of our people everywhere on this planet knew of.
And Cern is messing with opening the portals.
And Cern is using a physical manifestation to do a spiritual thing.
Right.
Where we are told this is a magic time. We are told this September is a big deal. We are told there will be death. We have armed soldiers all over the world now. We have police all hopped up on steroids, losing their damn minds. We have stories of the ancients, the gods, who is usually the goddess, because it's women at first. We have the Amazon. And we have tales all over this continent, Turtle Island, of women who were huge.
That's right.
And were warriors. We have these stories, again, all over the world, who may have been the first people.
Yes. And we've all heard of the stories of the Amazon women. Okay, now these are supposedly more myths, but now even anthropologists and archaeologists are finding that these women actually existed. So it is, again, here we are back to, it is not a myth. This is factual, and that they were giant women. They were warriors. And the interesting thing is, in the stories, of course, it says that no men were really allowed in, in their, I don't know, where do you want to say where they were, at the island of the Amazons, or the particular places. They were they were all over the place there in the Middle East, actually. Yes. And so this is a fact, and we talk about the giant race, of course, that has been covered up. And but what we're talking about, two things here. We're talking about prisoners of emotions. In other words, are we a prisoner of our emotions? Because that's what they're pressing us to be, prisoners of our emotions.
Yes.
And we're talking about cataclysmic motifs, okay?
Yes.
This is what they're pressing upon us, okay? But in fact, this is very important information. How do we take these signs, we take these messages, we take these ancient so-called myths that are really factual by our ancestors, and we use the information, okay? We look at all the signs, we investigate, we research. We're putting all the pieces to the puzzle together. That's why it's so exciting for me, because when we talk like this, when we do these investigations and we find a piece to the puzzle, this is important for us because we can utilize this information. Do not be a prisoner of your emotion. That's number one. And, don't be held captive. This is what we're talking about. We are in the time of change. We are in the time of cataclysmic events, and this is part of that wheel where we're repeating again and again, working through these particular types of issues and these challenges, spiritual challenges, because I believe that we are in the greatest spiritual challenge once again. Again, that cosmic war, the dark and the light.
The up and the down, the as above, so below, and whether or not we get it this time, that we fight the war in us. We are the battleground. We fight this war on a daily basis inside our bodies. We cannot save out there until we save in here. And stop being slave to ourselves.
Don't let them enslave you. Don't let the cabal, the elite, the sorcerers, whatever it is, because they're working on all levels here now. They're working on the physical, emotional, and spiritual level. Okay, they're working where we can see them, which I mean on the media. You can see them, okay, but you may not see behind. You may not see the truth behind what they're presenting to you, and this is where we have to wake up. Okay, so they're working on these levels, but they're also working in the etheric realms, the energetic realms. This is the other piece that we have to learn how to be tuned in, connected, alert to the sensing ability that we have, the feelings that we have, the rush of energy, or the funny feeling we get. If you get funny feelings, pay attention to. Pay attention, and your dreams, everything, even the sounds that we're hearing, in the atmosphere the web is making, the stretching and moaning and screeching and things that are going on. These are very important to pay attention to. And so the mother is doing her thing. This is a given. She's always going to take care of herself. But we have people messing around with God's creation. And when you start messing around with Great Spirit's creation, disrupting it and pressuring it and tearing it and opening up portals and calling what you shouldn't be calling, we have to pay attention to that.
Even here, and I realize it's not spoken of this way, we lived the story of Pan. We relived the story of Eden, of Neverland. So this place that was once clean and pure and good had their children stolen by men who represented Pan, men in dresses, this transgenic being. These churchmen sign of the cross. Pan always has certain symbols and signs with him. The cross, or the P itself, is still the cross. It's still the same meaning. It's the galactic center. It's the transition. P is an interesting letter. But anyway.
It's like they're opening. It's like they're opening. They're opening Pandora's box.
Pandora's box. The men stealing the children, sending them back wounded, and most of them killed. This is what Peter Pan did. This is what Pan did. This is what the Pied Piper did. And if you look through all the letter P's, you will see pedophilia. You will see what the P means, what the sign of the crossing means, because this is also the year of the crossing. So we are up against that. And we are also up against the Phantom Menace, which could be our rising above this. We could look at this as the return of the Nephilim, the return of the Elohim, Saturn, which will put us back on the wheel of the bus, so we will restart in the same crap with Pandora's box opened. Or we could become the Phoenix ourselves and transition during this time and take back our souls.
I believe that's the opportunity before us, presented before us, and Pandora opened the Pythos given to her by Zeus, which released all the bad things of the world.
So is the sound.
Yeah. And of course, here we go again. It's Greek mythology, but this is not mythology. These are facts. This is information that the ancient ones left for us to understand what's going to be coming. What was experienced on that one part of the wheel in that one era, and coming back around. And these are the stories. These are the facts. And it's sort of like to open the Pandora's box basically is to perform an action that may seem small or innocent. Just like they tell us, the scientists, it's not going to hurt anything. The world isn't going to end. But that turns out to have severely detrimental and far-reaching consequences.
Even in the movies that have talked about Pandora's box, there's just one adventure movie with Laura Croft. There's a globe. It opens with a sound and musical notes and a segment. And there are 7 magic notes to open a box that will have death or something else. The something else is usually not spoken of, just the horror, of course, because we are in the land of horror. Or the land of nod, which kind of means nodding off, sleeping. The land when we are hypnotized into sleep by a sound and a frequency, which I'm telling you is being broadcast all over the world now. It's why so many people are depressed. Or we can take that frequency, and the world is already wired. We're wired now. It's too late. It's wired. We could use that frequency to increase our vibration and contact every being on this planet that is fighting to survive right now.
Right. When we talk about the frequency, we talk about being the frequency.
Yes.
We talk about being the frequency of light, compassion, love, for instance. It's like this is the ability that we have. We can be the frequency of hatred and revenge and jealousy. We could be that frequency too. But this is so crucial this time. At this point in time, we have started already entering the new era, the new paradigm, the fifth world, the age of enlightenment. And who's going to be left behind? I mean, that's the choices that we make to how we're going to function frequency-wise, energetic-wise, what we're going to feel, what are we going to build within ourselves, connect with the highest frequency of light and love, or are we going to continue to be miserable and angry and frustrated and prejudice and jealous and hateful. Those are different frequencies. So we're talking about a power that we have, that we were given. And this is also part of the stories, the ancient so-called myths of the dark and the light. And that battle of the dark and the light, to me, is that spiritual battle, because the light, to me, connects us to the spiritual truth, And my teacher used to tell me about these coming times, what the prophecy spoke about, the earth changes and what was going to be happening. He talked about the fire. He talked about the fire was going to be so intense that we would wish to die. We would wish to not be here. And, he spoke about the way to survive, to move through these coming times. Now, many of the our elders tell us this. And of course, it is involving, in his way, in the Lakota way, it was involving the Chinunpa way, the Chinunpa Wakan, which is the sacred pipe, which is the way of living. It is the way of walking in a sacred manner, which includes compassion, which includes love, which includes helping each other. It includes a consciousness, a conscious relationship of ourselves to each other and to the whole of creation, to the mother and all of life. And so walking in that sacred manner or standing behind the way of the Chinunpa Wakan will move you through, because that's a power. Okay, that connects you to Creator, that power of the Chinunpa. Now, and I took that a little further, because not everybody knows the Chinunpa way, not everybody knows the First Nations way, but you can use it. It is about your relationship to Creator, whether you want to say God or Creator or Wankantanka. It does not matter, because it is the same omniscient being, in my understanding, my sense, that it is something, some intelligence created this miracle, Mother Earth that we live on, and the miraculous all around us. Just ourselves, we are a miracle. And so to me, and then you look at the system, you look at the blueprint of the superior intelligence in everything. You look at the blueprint of everything, and it points directly to the Fibonacci numbers theories, where everything has the sacred number. Everything connects, everything relates as the same. So in nature and even in sacred temples and so on, they use this sacred number, or what they call pi. So that to me is some unknown intelligence. I call it the blueprint of the superior intelligence, is within each one of us, and it is in all of creation. That tells me, that something is at work here, far more than we've been told. So when you have faith, I'm talking about faith. When you have faith, you are filled with something. You are filled with an inner peace. It gives you a foundation to move through challenges. It helps you. It supports you. You turn to it. You embrace it. It embraces you. This is how we're going to need to come to, is to find our faith, whether it's God, whether it's, Wankantanka, Takashla, Creator, Great Spirit, whatever it is. That's the foundation that the elders are telling us that we need, that will get us through. Get us through these times. Went on there a bit.
No, it's awesome. Our world is locked in the face of opposites right now, where we're told there's only black and white, and hot and cold, and light and dark. But there is warm. There is gray. There's vapor. There is freezing. There are so many different shades of these things. We could choose to not pick sides, walk in between them. Don't have to become one or another thing. And we're told that we have to take a choice, make a choice. Republican, Democrat, so you're going to choose between the demons and the reptiles? What?
Yeah.
We don't have to be
No.
enslaved by his side.
Exactly.
And there's no savior coming to save you other than the one you can call up. And the cool thing about this movie, Lucy, which I think people should watch again with discernment, is that she is the one that goes back. She is the one who puts her hand out and touches.
Yep.
The first one. And there's always a one. There will always be a one. But we could do this ourselves. And I am living proof. I was already told that I could not get better. There would be no walking for me. They can't even explain how I'm doing this. But I don't care if they can explain it or not. I am
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
And I am not magical or special or beyond belief. I am the same as you. I am you. I'm your sister.
Yeah.
All of your sisters. And I could probably prove that genetically, as a matter of fact, but
Well,
even
yeah.
if there's bugs listening, and we didn't get the ET call today, which is awesome.
We
That's-
just say hi and welcome.
Hey,
Thank you for joining us.
thank you for joining us and not destroying the earth.
You know, I want to say when things get really rough, and they're going to get, because the elders are telling us this. You know, I always say if you think you're being challenged now, this is just preparation. And the preparation means that we best get ourselves centered. We best get our stuff together. And that means spiritually, emotionally, and physically. And you know, when things come that way, when they're going to come that way, one thing, don't go to the streets, don't fight. Don't get on the bus. I say, don't get on that bus. Don't get on that train. You know, we have to be in preparation. And I have to say our spiritual preparation, for me anyway, is the number one piece. And everything else then follows that, you know. What we need to do, what you need to gather, the people that you need to find of like mind, you know. And if you can, find your land. This is what the elders have been telling us for over 20 years. Find your land, find your place, find your people of like mind. You know, gather your water, get your gardens going. In other words, be self-sufficient. Get off the grid. Get out of the mindset that you can only, and it's hopeless, you're dependent on the authorities. You're dependent. Don't be dependent on them, because they're not gonna help us. Basically, there's too many people, there's too many circumstances, and they're messing with us anyway. There's that agenda. We know all that, but we also know the other agenda. We know we have a power. We know we've read the stories. We've just read some of the stories to you. We've been talking about the stories of our ancestors, of the ancient ones, of all that they went through. And here we are, we still remain. Yeah.
We're here for a reason. We were chosen, and we chose because we are the ones making the choices here. There's not a great day. I think that may be the biggest deception right now. That for some reason, we have bought into the fact that there are kings and queens and there are rulers and we need them. All it will take is for us to say we don't. We don't have to kill them. We just have to turn our backs. The worst way to kill anything on this planet, I mean the fastest death of anything, ignore it.
Yeah.
It's proven with every kind of being, plants, minerals, vegetables. Ignore it, it goes away. And when they want us to focus on September, and that's the other part of it, and I hear the screaming and the yelling and the gnashing of teeth, it is important, and it absolutely isn't. Change yourself now, or don't at all. The more we feed into the fear, or or Pan, who is coming to the UN and to the Senate
In
with
the dress.
Roman in a friggin' dress, wearing, and he is not the snappy dresser of his predecessor. By the way, who was the one who made sure we would never hear the third prophecy of Satan? I mean, it's Fatima.
Yeah, Fatima. Yeah.
Fatima, but I'm telling you, when I was playing that thing today, and you can look at pictures of what they saw and how people were freaking out and how the two of those children died within a week, I'm not thinking this was happy, happy, joy, joy visits. I'm not feeling
It could be
love.
quite terrifying, but I think it was a spaceship that came.
It could be anything.
I think it was a spaceship with a bunch of aliens and, a bunch of green people. I don't know. I'm just joking. But I mean, I know throughout time, throughout history, there have been the ships. I even think they talked about the great wheel that Moses rode on, or the fiery wheel, all that stuff. But listen, I think we agreed. I this is my theory. This is my feeling. I think we all agreed to come here at this time. We signed up for this because we knew what was going to be happening, because we're coming back around on that wheel. We're the ones who left the messages for us, and we're the ones from the future. We're here at this sacred time. That's why I say this is an amazing, amazing, powerful time.
Again, everyone, thank you very much for listening today. And even the Klan, and we're talking about whether or not someone's going to wave their little freak flag in the United States, dressed like the Pans we are looking for. This woman is not the Pan you are looking for. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me, Barb. Love you. And stay strong. We don't need discord.